Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. It's a movie that, while it has its issues, it's still enjoyable for the third entry in this franchise. In a lot of ways, this franchise could just end it with this movie and it would have been much better for it. So now, taking place a little bit after the events of the second film, Will Turner, Elizabeth Swann, and Hector Barbosa, and of course the crew of the Black Pearl, they have to rescue Jack Sparrow from Davy Jones' locker, and as well prepare to fight the East Indian Trading Company, which has been one of the main antagonists of these first three movies. My goodness, this film is not as great as I had remembered it. It has so many issues that by the end of the film, I was just glad that it was over. Not that it's an atrocious movie, but there are things in this film I clearly didn't like. Like the mere fact that Jack Sparrow doesn't show up for over 30 minutes. And when he does show up, it's an odd scene to say the least. But I will say for the most part, the acting is well done. The fighting, while a little bit over the top and it goes bigger, it is cool to look at. And the antagonists of this movie, they do a good job in my opinion. Now, one of the main problems with this film is that it's way too long. Seriously, this movie is over 2.5 hours, making it the longest film in this franchise. And at a certain point, I was saying to myself, certain movies don't need to be over 2.5 hours. This is one of those films. Nonetheless, though, while this movie doesn't stack up to the previous two entries, it's still entertaining for what it is. This movie does try to put too much in its runtime, and for that, it suffers because of it. Now, that doesn't make it a bad film, in my opinion. It's just we have these extra storylines of the Black Pearl crew taking on the East Indian Trading Company. Then there's Davy Jones. And then there's the return of Hector Barbosa. And it was cool that they brought him back because I liked this character in the first film. And in a lot of ways, they could just end this in the trilogy like I mentioned before. But what I will say is that this was the last appearance of Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann. It was the tragic end to their love story. Sure, they made a cameo in the fifth movie, but this was really their last appearance. And then there's once again Jack Sparrow and his crew. There are some interesting characters all throughout these three movies, especially Calypso, who was played by Naomie Harris. She did a great job. And there are other characters such as James Norrington, considering how his character ended in this movie. And I will say that while this is not as enjoyable as the first two entries, this is still a nice way to end what a lot of us thought was going to be a trilogy, really, but it turned into a franchise. Still, though, at the end of the day, this is a movie I would recommend to fans of this franchise. But be warned that this movie does have flaws that keeps it from being better. I'm giving this film a 6 out of 10. The problem with this movie is that it felt a little weird to me. That scene where Jack Sparrow is seeing multiple versions of himself, I was saying this is weird characterization for Jack Sparrow. But it's not as crazy as the fourth and fifth movies I heard about, which I haven't seen as of this recording. But I will say I do have respect for this movie considering it tied up all storylines in these first three films. And certain characters wouldn't return after this film completing their arc. Nonetheless, though, while not a horrendous movie, this is still the weakest film of the first three movies of this franchise. And that's my review of Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Alright, leave your comments down below in the section and let me know what you think about this movie. Now, my reviews of Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides and Dead Man Tell No Tales, it will happen later on my channel, so be on the lookout for that. Okay, this is Slim Guy 172 saying, peace out.